How do we get to net zero by 2030? Now, following a year of the cake programme, please say we cracked it. Okay, so we're going to run through this now and show you how we got there. A bit of a stream of consciousness. So before we reveal all, I wanted to give you some thoughts and highlights and a bit of a sales pitch for the cake programme. Gave us time to think, time to learn how to learn. In particular, great importance, it gave us an opportunity to network, to meet new friends and colleagues. Had some challenges. We had a very enjoyable residential couple of days where we learned the true value of a poppadom. For those who are there, you'll know what I'm talking about. So back to the challenge. As public bodies, we all have this significant challenge about how we get to net zero. And the cohort was all about net zero, as I recall. I'm a very linear person. I want to get to the solution as quickly as I possibly can. So we were challenged first morning. Stand up. Okay, what are you here for? What do you want to solve? So I stood up and I said, I want to know how to get to net zero by 2030. Simple. And then we had a Spartacus moment. Alex joined me, Steve joined me, Claire joined me, and we had our own little movement. Our very first community of practice. Simple problem. We started to refine. Could we demonstrate that we could actually achieve net zero just in one building by 2030? And under the true circular economy principles, we decided to use an existing building, called Simon Library, utilising all the embedded carbon that exists in that building. We'd actually already started to reuse that building by relocating our district housing office just around the corner. It was a leased asset. Adapted the building, moved the district housing office in. It became a centre in the middle of the community to advise the local community. Could we, in the heart of the community, adapt that building so the service, cradle to grave, was completely net zero? Well, no, of course we couldn't. Impossible. So I was fearing at the start. We haven't got a solution for you, but we reckon we've actually got a principle of a behaviour change piece of work that through increasing awareness, through support, through encouraging performance, and through a commitment, we feel that we can have a very cost-effective solution to the problem. Start on the journey towards getting to that net zero agenda. How do we achieve it? We're going to set up a climate change charter. Alex and I, in our property role, we're the corporate landlord in Swansea, so as the corporate centre, we have responsibility for the building. There are certain things that we have to do, and we will make this charter, we will make this promise with our premises managers, with our service managers, that we will undertake these functions as long as they perform their part of the bargain. And through ideation design thinking, see, some of it is actually sort of, I'm absorbing some of it. We came up with a prototype, we were trialling, we were amending, and we are going to have a pilot now, test bed assignment that's going to enable us to see how we can take this agenda forward. Alex is going to run you through 4 principles.
Thanks, Geoff. Good morning, all. As Geoff has already touched on, there are 2 strands to our circular economy project. The first part is obviously to create the internal climate change contract, which will actively help to promote the climate change agenda and enable buy-in from stakeholders, whilst also setting clear parameters for who is responsible for specific tasks. The second part of our project is to design and implement a complementary training module, initially designed for premises managers, but which could ultimately be rolled out across the organisation. So in terms of the climate change contract, diagram identifies 2 clear, distinct roles, which have a direct impact on the overall carbon footprint of the council. The importance of the climate change contract is to demonstrate the common goals which exist and how relatively small changes can have a big impact, especially given the scale, age and condition of our estate. So the corporate landlord, again as Geoff touched on, will effectively act as the delivery arm. So it will pick up on physical improvements, building alterations, energy improvements, gathering data, high-level management performances, and obviously ultimately providing training to the premises managers. premises managers themselves, obviously it's their role to comply with the corporate contract, to champion the efforts towards becoming net zero and making the energy improvements. Premises managers will be provided with high-level check sheets, which we're still sort of working on, and will be encouraged to report maintenance or specific energy-related issues through a new reporting process. They may sound mundane tasks, but things like turning off lighting, heating, equipment, they generally go unrecognised, but actually those small changes make a big difference across the board. The problem that we have is a lot of our premises managers don't have budgetary responsibility, so they may see a light on, but they may not necessarily take the time to go over and turn the light off. Like I say, very mundane, but if you roll that out across hundreds of properties that we have, then it makes a big difference. We're also looking at ways to create competitive environments, possibly by ranking services or buildings, and exploring obviously incentives as well. I'll come on to this, but finances aside, most of our buildings can be designed to be net zero. Like I say, but very little attention is paid to building usage, and that's an important area which this project has identified. We're concentrating on the minutiae to create that bigger change. And like I touched on, in terms of how do we report that, again, it's setting out some clear parameters. Obviously, we will act as the corporate landlord, and we will be responsible for dealing with the energy-related matters. And the premises managers then will have the ability to report maintenance problems to our direct labour team and also into our asset management group, so we can deal with vacant accommodation, vacant space, so we can repurpose it or potentially isolate those areas to create that saving for the authority. Final thoughts, sounds a bit corny, but Tony's mentioned this a couple of times. Embrace change, trust the process. We struggled with that. But we did get there in the end. Community practice goals, really important to set those out from the outset. Again, we got a little bit confused initially, but I think we naturally fell into those roles and it worked really well in the end. And don't be afraid to fail and refine scope. We started off with a massive project. How do we become net zero by 2030? Quickly realised that wasn't possible, so refined it down to get to something meaningful, which we can potentially roll out across the whole organisation. Quick thank you to Tony and the rest of the team. They've been a brilliant support, and we really enjoyed the course. So, thank you.